Hello and welcome to Full Command. Today we're going to have a look at the April 2023 Battlescroll for Age of Sigmar. Remember to like, subscribe and comment below. It really helps the channel out. This is the second update of the year following the release of the last one in January. This has seen a number of changes to a lot of recent battle tomes, as well as core rule updates for Rally and the Arcane Tome Universal Artifact of Power, as well as more boosts to the Kruleboyz, who have seen 8 consecutive meta watches below the 45%. Starting with the Rally command ability change, it's had a paragraph added to the end which states that you can only return models to that unit that have a combined wound characteristic of 10 or less. So if you have a unit of 10 infantry with 2 wounds each, and you use Rally on that unit, you'll be able to bring back a maximum of 5 models to that unit, depending on your role. I don't think this will see a big change to your average Age of Sigmar player. I think those highly refined tournament lists will see some impact. You won't be able to bring back more than 1 Stormdrake Guard anymore, which is kind of a feels good for anyone who isn't rallying back upwards of 3 Stormdrake Guard. What I will say is that it's kind of more thematic in that you can bring back hordes of goblins, a couple of orcs, or kind of that one bigger kind of monstrous infantry or cavalry unit. Next up, we're going to talk about the Universal Artifact of Power Arcane Tome. So the big change here is that you can no longer equip it to a wizard, priest, or any model with the Khorne keyword. The bearer becomes a wizard, and that will know the Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield spell. They cannot pick any spells from a spell lore the bearer may know, but they can still summon any endless spell that's included in your roster. They can also still cast 1 spell and deny 1 in your enemy's hero phase. Now, the limit's been put in place to stop people from being able to create supercasters. In conjunction with Master of Magic, you could get some Tzeentch casters, for instance, to be very, very potent, throwing out additional casts as well as increasing to the roll to allow the cast to go through. With these changes, what it's allowed is for armies who don't have access to any wizards at all to still be able to interact with the endless spell system, and also just to allow armies that don't have particularly great magical output that additional universal cast of Arcane Bolt or Mystic Shield, or to help deny magic from some of the more potent casting battle tomes out there. Starting off with our first battle tome points adjustment sees Archmage Teclis and his little winged griffin very, very sad. A few key units to the infamous Teclis Castle army list have had their points slightly adjusted, including the Archmage himself. These are nothing egregious, kind of 10 points, 20 points, as you can see. What Games Workshop are probably hoping this will help diversify the Lumineth Realm Lords away from that one particular build that was seeing a lot of popularity. I don't know a lot about the Realm Lords myself, so if you have any particular insights in them, feel free to drop them into the comment section below. And we'll move on to the next army. And that army, of course, being the Disciples of Tzeentch, kind of following on from the change to Arcane Tome, which will bring a lot of these casters down in power, along with probably not seeing them take Master of Magic as well. The Games Workshop have increased the points values of a lot of the individual hero casters of the Disciples. They stated that this was because of the raw casting power of the special rules within the Disciples of Tzeentch battle tome led to too much efficiency, as well as kind of having their own unique endless spells. So I think along with these small points adjustments to these hero characters and the change in Arcane Tome, along with probably the loss of Master of Magic as well, should see kind of these small Tzeentch casters be less prevalent in the meta. We should see hopefully more kind of greater demons and more mortal units going and moving forward. Now, with a relatively new battle tome, the Gloomspite Gits have seen a number of point adjustments for units you would never have seen taken in the last battle tome. Obviously, Games Workshop did too much of a good job bringing new lease of life to these models. The Loon King being the key point here, he was seeing use in a lot of destruction armies because of his potent casting at such a low cost. The increase up to kind of 210 points should see less inclusion as an ally, as well as just general small points increases for a lot of the squig units in the Gloomspite Gits arsenal. The Loon Boss on the Mangler Squid has seen a quite significant points drop. Still quite an expensive unit. I don't know if it'll be enough to kind of see him see the table more. But it'd be interesting to see how Gloomspite Gits adapt to these changes and what their lists look like moving forward. And now for my personal favourite in Age of Sigmar, the Kruleboyz, which have seen 8 consecutive meta watches at the bottom. Let's see if these changes that Games Workshop have introduced will draw them over that 45% win rate bracket. The first change here is Scare Tactics, which has been changed to subtract 1 from the hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by enemy units that are not heroes or monsters. Hopefully this will allow Gut Rippers to actually survive attacks once they've been engaged. Kruleboyz not really having a particularly hearty battle line unit is definitely going to be one of the reasons why they struggle in matchups. The other big change is they get to now pick 2 dirty tricks before the battle. The issue with these dirty tricks is that they require a lot of dice rolling and aren't that optimal to get off or to interact with the units you want to the most. What I can see most likely happening is there is one that just gives you blanket -1 to wound for the first round of the game. And then you're going to take one of these more kind of random dirty tricks to hopefully, remove some units from the board to make your guys not being able to be shot at, or even dealing out some mortal wounds should your opponents get closer to objectives or terrain features. Will this be enough just to give them that extra percent they need? Hopefully so, but only time will tell. Next up to see the love from Games Workshop are Slaves to Darkness, which have seen a number of points decreases for battle line and leaders alike. Games Workshop mentioned that these are a very popular army in Age of Sigmar. They're a very iconic faction from Old Hammer as well. And these units that you see affected with these points decreases are Chaos Knights, Chaos Warriors. These are kind of indicative to the battle tome in my eyes. Because of this popularity, their tournament results are a bit erratic. As a lot of newer players to the game have tended to drift towards the Slaves to Darkness. But what they've done is they've decreased units that were found within the army's launch box, which a lot of these new players would have been using, to hopefully see a boost in variation of armies that are being taken for the Slaves to Darkness and bring back those iconic units to the battlefield. So last up in the Battle Tome update is small changes to the Beasts of Chaos Battle Tome. Again, this is a relatively new Battle Tome, which while seeing great results in the last GT pack since the Glacian pack has come out, they've kind of had middling results. Based on that, Games Workshop have made point adjustments to the Doom Ball and Bulgors, which kind of synergize off each other quite well, and drop the points of Bestigor's battle line unit. So hopefully we can see more of the herd mentality come back to the Beasts of Chaos. They also mentioned that primarily it's very competitive players that do play Beasts of Chaos. It's not a widely played faction, so their tournament standings are probably above what many of the other armies would be like. For instance, Slaves of Darkness, which we just spoke about because of this. There's a couple of other units they're keeping their eye on, and I would expect to see more changes come the next Battlescroll update. Overall, it's been a very positive Battlescroll update. It will be a shame to see that my brute Troggoth can't cast flaming weapons anymore. But I'm glad that Stormdrake Guard won't be flying back in huge rally spikes. I'm happy to see that Games Workshop are making swift changes to more recent release battle tomes like Gloomspite Gits, as well as the more cautious updates to the Beasts of Chaos. They did also mention they've got their eyes on Blade of Corn and a few additional units in the Beasts of Chaos, which I assume we'll see some updates to that in a few months' time. We'll have to see what these changes make on the meta, but as well, we've had 2 new death books released last week with the Ossiarch Bone Reapers and the Vampires, as well as Seraphon have just gone on pre-order this weekend, which will release in a week's time. So there's a lot of changes coming to the meta, and it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. If you have any questions, thoughts, feedback, please drop it in the comments below. Remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.